Hi, and welcome to another episode of Piano TV. I'm Allysia, your host, and today I wanted to talk about something that I notice a lot. I think you've probably been in this boat before too. It's not that you don't have talent, it's that you don't have a system. Now, the reason I'm thinking about this a lot is because the people that I work with, so I run piano courses that hundreds of people have gone through, all the way from a beginner level to a sixth level. That's my newest edition. So we're at the complete beginner level all the way up to sort of upper intermediate right now. And the thing that strikes me, first of all, the people that I teach are so cool, really awesome. I am super lucky to be able to follow their progress and see their videos and read their entertaining anecdotes and messages that they send. But aside from my students just generally being super, super awesome, I don't know how I got so lucky with that. They're also a really hardworking bunch. I don't know if this is actually, I've taught adults before aside from the context of these online courses, not as much as I taught kids back in the day, but typically my experience with adult students are that they're very hard workers and they're willing to put in the time, assuming that crazy life circumstances don't get in the way, because sometimes that happens. Things fall apart, things break, work gets busy, kids make life busy by existing, and so on. Life happens more so with adults, but the external events that sort of press on us without our control are different sorts of issues than the sort of internal motivation. I find that the vast majority of the adults that I teach are so motivated, work really hard, are pretty good at following routines and committing to practice. But still, regardless of this drive and this hard work, can hit a wall. And I get this in my inbox a lot too when people write to me and express the challenges that they're having at the piano. So today I wanted to talk about this issue of talent versus system, and let's just dive right into it. So imagine a student, yourself maybe even, if you will, who spends a week practicing a piece and then comes back the next week and the piece sounds like pretty similar. Maybe they feel like they haven't made a lot of progress, tempo's the same, they're still stumbling in the same spots or whatever it is. Oftentimes the thing that comes up is like, I look at these other people who just seem to get it. Their piece gets fast really quickly, almost as if they're playing effortlessly. They must have talent. I don't have talent. There's a difference between this amazing student who's like conquering every challenge with ease versus what I'm doing, not really seeming to move the needle forward very much. Now, aside from the stuff we've talked about recently on the brain, see my previous videos on this, I think this desire to sort of blame talent is a bit of an easy out, when I think a lot of the times, not always, some people are really systematic, but I think often the challenge is just lacking any sort of system. And the reason I'm referencing the brain stuff we talked about is because this is a big part of progressing in a way that's noticeable to you. Do you have a plan when you sit down to play? Do you have a plan in the moment at each individual practice session? Do you have a plan for the week? Do you have a plan for your kind of wider scope? I think a lot of times people who are very, very willing to work hard and commit to a certain amount of practice a day, even if it's like an hour or more, definitely don't lack for the sort of the steel to work hard. But I think oftentimes there's like a little bit of a disconnect with maybe lacking a system. And what I mean by a system is this sort of 3-step sort of process. So step 1, what are you practicing in the moment? How are you thinking about the next 15 minutes of your life? The practice for the week, in what way are you trying to move the needle forward this week? And overall, what's your practice goals for the year? What are you trying to accomplish in the year? Sometimes people will have pretty good top level view, like, oh, I want to move from grade 5 to grade 6 or something like that. Or I'm a grade 4 student, I want to be able to do an exam at the end of the year. So the long range stuff, I actually don't think is usually the problem. I think the problem tends to happen a little bit more on the granular level, especially the literal practice session itself. Because what a lot of people do is they'll just sit and play something for 15 minutes without any kind of plan, it's better than nothing to do this, by the way. So I'm not knocking this sort of practice. If you sit down and play anything for 15 minutes, you probably will get better. but without a sort of sense of direction of what those 15 minutes are going to entail. Like, man, these 4 measures are killing me. I cannot figure out the rhythm or how this part's supposed to work. So I'm just going to hunker down on these 4 measures and really kind of count it out, clap it out, do whatever I need to do to get really secure with this rhythm, so that by the end of this 15 minutes, even if I'm not amazing at it, I mean, 15 minutes is 15 minutes, I hope that I will still be able to like have a better, more concrete physical grasp of this rhythm. For example, that's a really nice specific goal for a single practice session, but this is the kind of thing that a lot of people don't do. A lot of people just sort of sit down and wing it. And especially those of you who are a little bit more free spirited and don't like to be hunkered down by routines and plans and stuff like that. I can sort of relate, even though I love me a good routine. I think there's maybe an inner rebellion that happens. Is like, don't confine me with a plan. Don't tell me what to do with my 15 minutes. So I think for some of you, maybe it's a little bit more of a gentler process. Maybe it is spontaneous, but I think it's, if you spontaneously come up with an idea of how to spend the next 15 minutes, that's better than just sort of, I'm just going to play what I feel, in terms of actually feeling like at the end of the week, did you improve at all? I think this is something that people who we perceive as being really talented actually do. I think I'm just going to make a wild claim here. I think the majority of people who we see as really talented are just really, really good at managing their time. They might have other advantages too, but the sort of deliberate practice, the sitting down and really making a good use of your 15 minutes, I think is so key. What tends to happen is that when you sit down for 15 minutes to practice and you encounter a part of your music that's hard, that doesn't work very well, your fingers don't know what to do. It's sort of like you get to that part of the piece, you know what I'm talking about. You're like, I hate this part, because you feel incompetent at it or inadequate at it. Sometimes, even though that's exactly the part that needs more attention, it's the part that we don't want to give attention to because we don't like it. It makes us feel bad about ourselves. It's like when we get there, maybe up to that part, you're like, oh man, I'm crushing it. I'm such a good piano player. Look at me go, no mistakes. Then you get to that part and it's like, oh no, all of my self-identifying as a great piano player is being smashed into smithereens at this one part. So I don't want to go there. That's scary. That's like the danger zone. And then people will avoid practicing the parts that need the practice the most because it makes them feel low self-worth. Things will run through their mind like, I have no talent, point of today's video, or like, I'm not good enough. You know, the negative critic tends to come in those situations. But if you relate to this at all, some people won't, but if you relate to this at all, I want you to try to face your fear. Face the passage that's really tearing you up inside and shredding your ego, because it's amazing how much of a feeling of competence you can gain by systematically targeting something that's really causing you a lot of stress. Just even taking off a small bite. Like maybe there's a whole page. You're like, that page is not working. Bite off like 2 measures. Don't try to be a hero and do the whole thing and spend an hour and a half practicing it, because that's going to be frustration. 15 minutes. There's a reason I'm keeping things narrowly confined to just like a short little window, because in that short window, if you target just like say those 2 measures, really, really scary measures, maybe with a scary run or something, and just go through it note by note slowly, after 15 minutes, it's pretty, unless you're doing something way too hard for your level, it's pretty rare that you don't feel a sense of empowerment at the end of that. By facing your fear. I know this sounds ridiculous, by the way, because it's like you're facing your fear by playing a difficult passage, as if you're like skydiving or something. But it really does, I think, feel. I have a pretty like hyperactive nervous system. My immune system, I don't think, is hyperactive, but my nervous system is such that I could probably feel the same inner excitement playing a rousing game of Mario Kart with my friends that like a different person might play or might feel when they're skydiving. Really active nervous system. So when I'm playing piano and I'm encountering these moments, it really does feel sometimes like it's an existential fear that's being worked through. And that's just, everyone's built a little bit differently. But it does make me feel enormously better about myself afterwards if I work through those difficult passages. So again, different things happen to different people when you're confronted with a 15-minute practice session. So remember, just scaling out again. Think of your practice in these three sorts of layers of potential structure. Top level layer, people do pretty good usually. What are you doing this year? Some people might want to think about that a little bit more. The courses that I teach sort of just have this framework built into them already. Because if you take like a grade 5 level course with me, the idea is that you begin with grade 5 material, and then you finish the course after learning a whole bunch of grade 5 material, and then you could theoretically successfully pass a grade 5 exam and check that box. And so there you go. You've got like the top level goal. Now, if you take things down to the week by week level, which I haven't really talked about yet, what are your plans for the week? What do you want to accomplish with your piece? How much do you want to practice each piece? Maybe 20 minutes a day each piece, 2 hours at the end of the week, something like that. Are you going to record your pieces for posterity? Because recording yourself and self-evaluation are, and especially if you're able to share your progress, which is what my students do as well in the forum, they'll share their recordings and how their progress is going. That's a really sort of good mid-level set of structure. Figuring out how much you're going to practice, what you're going to practice, and then maybe with a piece in the span of a week, you want to speed up the tempo 15 beats or something like that. Some sort of modest progressive goal. Whether or not you reach it is a different story, but I think it's worth having that goal built in. And again, this is something I think structure is pretty important. So I build my courses with this in mind. So for every class I teach at every grade level, I'll do a lesson plan for the week. And even if you're not like actively taking piano courses or anything like that, there's a ton of value in make your own lesson plan. You can follow mine if you're in my courses. That makes it easier for you. But is there a theory thing you're going to learn this week? Is there like something you're going to work on with your piece? Have you been fighting with the same piece for 2 months? Is it time to let it go and learn some new stuff? Are you still practicing your sight reading? How's your technical exercises go? Well, most people are pretty good about practicing technique enough. They tend to slack off a bit more on sight reading. Are you doing any ear training? Try to cover all your bases and really think, okay, what's happening this week? So that you have a clear framework every day when you sit down to practice, when you're on the third level of this sort of structural approach. Because on this third level, the day by day level, I know that for myself, and this is what I base a lot of what I recommend to you on, my own lived felt experiences practicing piano. If I don't have a plan on the like mid or top level, I don't feel nearly as motivated to sit down to practice on the day-by-day level because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, should I pick up this random piece and work on it for I don't know how long? Like, there's something about that doesn't. It's like I'm just imagining an analogy with making a movie or something like that. Are you making a movie? Okay, you need like a lot of layers of planning and structure in place. You need to hire people and make the scenes work and record them and whatever. Versus just like, I'm going to pull up my camera and just like film random stuff. I don't know where it's going. Is there going to be a movie? Maybe not. Maybe this is just like random filming. There's no plan. It sort of makes the filming itself feel less valuable and just sort of more meandering. And that's not as motivating on days where maybe you're busy. Whereas if you're a regular adult who's regularly busy, but you have a plan. It's like, I want to do this to this in the span of a week. And it's a reasonable goal. It's not like excessive or anything like that. It's going to be day 4 and you're super busy, but you're like, oh, I really do need to get to piano because otherwise I'm not going to like continue my momentum that I've already started this week, reaching this goal at the end. So you've got your top, middle, and low level daily goals. And this is also something that I really care about structure, which is why I'm going through this with you. But in my courses, I also give like a daily checklist. So it sort of depends what grade level you're at with how much I'm hand-holding you through the process. Lower grades tend to get much more hand-holding in this regard, where I'll tell you like specifically what measures to work on every day and how long and things like that. But this is just because I believe that these 3 layers of kind of structural elements within your music, the cheesiest thing is gonna come out of it will set you free. The inner rebel who hates structure, who's like, no, just let me practice what I want, man. eventually loses motivation because they're just doing the same thing for 6 months. They're working on like the same 3 pieces, and they're like they don't know where they're going with it. Can't really tell if they're getting better. If you don't feel like you're getting better, you're not going to be that motivated to keep playing, because it's feelings of improvements and development and like that you're going somewhere that really bring you back day after day. So so that's why I create these in my courses. You can check them out. I'll link them below if you want to see what's up. You're welcome to join them at any time. But I wanted to make sure that you didn't have to create those structural elements yourself if you took a course with me. I'm going to pick the pieces, and sometimes I give you a list of pieces you can pick from within a certain range. I tell you what to practice every week. I tell you how much to practice every week, what the top level goal is, what the mid-level week by week goal is. I give you all your theory assignments, all your sight reading. I give you all your technique. That's the word I was looking for. Sometimes I give you theory assignments depending on how advanced you are. Anyway, my main point with this is that talent is usually the wrong diagnosis. Now, there are people who do like clearly have some sort of inner talent or knack or whatever you want to call it. So I don't want to make a claim that talent is meaningless and there is no talent, or that's obviously not true, because you do see this all the time. If you're ever going to be in one of our piano groups and some of your peers, you're going to notice, you're like, what? Like, how are they playing that this fast already? Even the students who seem to be really talented, when you dig into their practice habits and stuff like that, though, there usually is like a merging of systematic, targeted, deliberate practice, as well as just sort of raw, natural, like good memory, good coordination, all the other sort of magical ingredients that go together to make someone capable of learning pretty fast. But I don't often see super talented people who have no plan. Of course, that kind of person exists, but it seems to be the combo that is really making the difference. And when people are admiring another student and their progress, it is almost certainly because there's a combo in place. It's not just one or the other. It's not just that they're a hard worker. It's not just that they're talented, but the focus tends to be on the talent as opposed to the hard work. And again, I want to make the caveat, almost all of my students are really hard workers. So hard work is not quite right. It would be more like structured, kind of disciplined, having a plan, I think is the big difference maker. But it's the difference maker that people tend not to focus on as much as the talent. Does that make sense? So I don't want to overwhelm you, but I want to give you one specific thing that you can try. So you don't feel like you need to go spend 3 hours and make like a grand master plan or something like that. The top level thing, if you have no plan at all, just leave the top level for now. That'll come. Start with the mid to low levels. So is there one thing you can do this week? Is there one new piece you've been wanting to try? How long is it going to take you to learn? Is it going to take you 4 to 6 weeks, maybe? If it's going to take you a lot longer than 2 months, it might be too hard. You might be working on a piece that's like quite above your level. Is there an easier piece you could learn to build your technique? Is there something, some challenge you could chew off that you're able to commit 20 minutes a day to, like maybe one piece, 20 minutes a day? Maybe you've got another piece, 20 minutes a day on that. All of a sudden you've got 40 minutes of practice a day. Add in 5 minutes of sight reading, add 5 minutes of technique. All of a sudden you've got nearly an hour of daily practice. And then within those pieces, are there individual goals like gaining tempo, getting better at a difficult passage, which is tangling up your fingers, or whatever it is? Pick something that you can move the needle forward on. And then really, really importantly, whether you do this daily or weekly, this sort of just depends on a personal level, but I want you to write down what you're actually doing and write down if you're progressing. So did you start the week at 60? Now you're at 80? Well, that's an obvious metric that you've made some sort of progress in the past week. Are you able to play a difficult passage, like a 4-measure section that was just killing your soul, and now you're like, oh, actually I can do it now? These are the kinds of things you want to track and write down. It's often our memories are easily distorted. So if you don't write things down, maybe you're feeling after a couple weeks like, nothing's really happened in the last couple weeks. Where maybe something actually was happening. Maybe you did make some improvement and you just weren't noticing it. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say on this today. Take some kind of action. check out my classes if this kind of structure sounds like it would be up your alley. I think it would benefit most people, but obviously we're not a monolith and everyone has a different sort of attitude towards music and practice and so on. But do check them out. Do pick some actionable task that you can do and see if, even just within a single practice session of 15 minutes, if you can notice a difference when you have a plan versus when you don't. Okay, that's all for me today. Thanks for listening to me talk. I always enjoy chatting music and strategy and things like that. Check out my courses, the Complete Piano Path courses. I'll link below. And we've got a really wonderful community of lovely people. We'd love to have you. All right, bye guys.